Hey, everyone here at the House Now 3D YouTube series. We're going to be on series 13 today, and we're going to talk about something that's probably not the most exciting, something that maybe we don't want to think about or talk about, but it really is the thing that you need to consider for any industrial or construction site. And the topic is EHS, or environmental health and safety. And Sean, I forgot to introduce you, man, but I know you're here. And today, since I have a little more experience in the EHS perspective, at least been hammered over the head with it, not metaphorically, from being in a lot of construction sites and a lot of factories, we're going to have you ask me a few questions from a beginner's perspective, or at least an outsider's perspective. So let me know some of the questions that someone newer to the space would have about what this weird term is, EHS.
Yeah, I mean, definitely safety of workers and the public is going to be number one. Anytime you build anything, and different states have different rules. I don't believe the OSHA laws apply to every state. So
I think that's
there are
correct. Yeah.
standards in the EHS space. Tell me more about what would you be looking for using a 3D printer or the technology, to combat the environmental issues that can come up from a build site.
For sure, man. Of course, there's the actual surrounding land, the surrounding environment, and then of course it kind of bleeds over into where it interacts with a human being. But we'll just focus kind of on the energy usage of a project, and of course the impact of the land. Start out with something really, really basic. A lot of municipalities prohibit concrete trucks from washing out their chutes or the last of their contents inside a ditch or canal or something like that. That's because there's chemicals that are often added to the concrete to improve flowability or retardant or accelerant, this and that. So those are chemicals. Of course, we just don't want a lot of those kinds of excess chemicals in the groundwater or in the surface water. So that's like a really, really basic one that many people know about or don't know about, but it's a consideration. And of course, when you start using more and more concrete, you need to plan for that. So the typical plan for that, you just simply have a site or a little spot where you just put the extra concrete, it hardens, and then you crush it up. So that's kind of like the chemical, or maybe like runoff type of environmental impact. And something else that you and I have talked about previously, of course, is the efficiency of material that does arrive on site, right? So we have oftentimes, what's that number you've thrown out a couple times during the course of this series about the amount of waste that gets taken to the dump from landfill site, from construction sites?
Oh, it's crazy. The EPA estimates that over 40% of everything that's in a landfill comes from single family house
That's
construction.
just astonishing. Yeah.
And there's 8,000 pounds per house and 1.7 million houses built a year or whatever. Probably more than that. But that's just actually astronomical. And with 3D printing, you can reduce the waste of what were your numbers at? 80% and more, just because you
Yeah.
don't have to make the cuts to the wood, the sheetrock, all the wasted materials. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's pretty close to the numbers that I've seen. As people get more experienced and more comfortable with this, they will even, and I'm quite confident that number will go up even more. Where you're at 90% or more of basically material utilization. So what we're talking about here is, if I bring whether it's a load of concrete or a load of lumber, how much is that actually getting used in the house, and then how much of that is getting hauled away? With concrete, let's just focus on that, or with a 3D printing grout or mortar, I'm going to print most of it on the house, and then if I have extra, I'm going to put that in one spot. I'm going to have a crusher at the end of the job site and use that in road fill, or the foundation, or the driveway, or something like that. So I'm gonna leave anything that I bring on site. I'm going to use it in a productive way, and that just reduces, of course, the energy load, or the how much energy it took to make the concrete and deliver the concrete and deliver all the materials that are there on site. And then I'm just utilizing a much more higher percentage of everything that I'm paying for, whether it's from an energy perspective or from a cost perspective.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I mean, there's multiple options using non-cementous material as well. There's different types of mortars that use less. There's some CO2 less intensive materials. Then there's recycled materials as well, and there's a lot of advancements in that. So just want to let people know, like, don't get caught up on the word concrete as of now, because
Yeah.
the way the industry is going, it's changing. But more just overall like health and safety of a traditional site compared to 3D printing. This is a new machine. Some people are talking about a lot of testing for students, and the new workforce can be doing like VR goggles. Just until you get acclimated, like this machine moving around, we definitely need less workers on site, which is good. It can reduce the chances of falls or spills, or getting hit with plywood that's picked up by the wind. But
Yeah.
tell me more about just like health and safety on a 3D printing site.
Oh, for sure, man. So the health perspective, so that would be, basically directly to me. So I don't want, clearly, we don't want concrete dust, which is caustic blowing in my eye. I don't want to dip my hands in it. If you see any crew out there laying flat work or doing foundation work, they're wearing gloves because again, it's caustic to the skin, whether it's in the eye or the skin. And or we don't want to breathe it down in our lungs. So clearly, when you're using a lot more frequently of some material, so in this case, concrete, we need to take those precautions. So we'll need to have perhaps respirators if it's windy. We'll need to have, as most job sites do, have hard hats. We're dealing with heavy hoses and other scaffolding type stuff. So we should be wearing a steel toed or some type of hard toed shoe. And really just basics job site, we'll be up on scaffolding. So maybe we'll have fall restraint depending on how high we are. So that's just kind of the health and safety. That's kind of the safety or that health perspective. And of course, the safety I kind of bled into the little bit accidentally there, but they kind of get gray there on the edges. And the safety, I simply, maybe I'm near this large machine, if it's a robotic or a gantry style, and of course the machine will be designed, make sure it's not overridden or those safety mechanisms aren't put in a default mode. When the machine comes up against me and I'm not paying attention, I don't want to be bumped off scaffolding or run over or knocked into a pit of soupy concrete. So those things are real. These things are powerful enough. I mean, when we know man versus machine is not that powerful, we could easily get hurt. So those things are real considerations too. And oftentimes they'll have light sensors, light curtains, bump
Right.
sensors, these different things. And then of course they only allow the machine to go so fast as well. So we know that it takes a bit of a time for us to react to some type of moving car or a robot arm or some other mechanism. And it takes us, we have to perceive it, then we have to register it, then we have to move the body. And of course, all that the machine is still coming out. It's not stopping for that. So the best manufacturers, and most of them are doing a really good job at this, they're incorporating these safety perspectives and these safety um, considerations into the design of the machine. So, of course, with a new technology, we're extra cautious, extra, aware of these safety considerations. We don't want to like start printing 3D houses and all of a sudden, three people get very hurt or very seriously injured. That would really devastate the industry. So we want to be just extra cautious from that perspective as well.
Do you think it's wise to maybe invite people out from the city, the building inspectors, the safety commissioner, so they can actually see like a demo day and see, the machine in action before you start printing, even if you're just running test runs? I think that could be a good idea. Have you heard of anybody doing that? Just trying to get everyone on board about like what this is, to make sure everyone's happy and healthy and safe.
I haven't seen it directly, Sean, but I think any builder or developer that has any kind of project management skills will know. In the sequence, I'd break it down just a little bit more than that. If it was me, I would definitely I would have my team do some rehearsals and get used to the machine. And then I would invite the inspector out. So it's not quite, it's just a complete clown show. But then even whether it's just a little rehearsal for our internal team before we get a public inspector or public official out there, then you're still not building an actual structure where people are going to live in. You're just practicing. So yeah, I just kind of step through it. First, you get the machine, and oftentimes these companies will have training, and then you get out, and then you actually set up on your maybe practice side or job side, and have a little, maybe a couple of days of team rehearsal, and then invite an inspector or government official out there so they can see how this really does make sense. You can see the benefits, the upside, and that would be my recommendation for a sequence to basically introduce everybody. I mean, human beings take time to learn. We don't grasp everything instantaneously,
Mhm.
and if you do things in small baby steps, then you're going to have a great or a much higher chance of success, where you're giving everyone a chance to acclimate, learn, get familiar with the equipment. And of course, like we said at the beginning here, it's all about of safety, being safe and actually having a final product come out of this and having no one get hurt.
Well, that's awesome, Johnny. To recap, talking about environmental health and safety on the 3D printing site. A lot of it's going to be similar to a traditional work environment, but definitely check with your local officials, codes, safeties, fire departments, anybody you think that could make sure to have a fantastic print. Invite them, talk to them, let them know about the technology, because it can make a big, big difference and minimize your risks and hazards. Johnny, take it
Awesome.
away.
Awesome. Hey, well, we thank the audience for listening to another episode of the House Now 3D YouTube series. This series really is designed to give people that are interested in the space, whether it's developers, architects, builders, anyone with an interest, really, a high level but somewhat of an in-depth, review, and just kind of just share Sean and I's perspective and knowledge and experience about the things we've seen, the things we know, and the people we talk to. So if you like what you hear, give us a follow, give us a listen. Obviously, of course, we have all comments. Comments are always welcome as well. So until next time, signing off. Sean, hey.
Be good, guys. Thanks.